The good thing with technology, my profile is on LinkedIn. I already got some people checking on Friday when we failed to have the session, but I'm happy to join you here today. So I'll go right into the session. If we look into the whole aspect of selling, Jonan has done a very good intro on why we need it. It does not matter whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a teacher, whether you're, I mean, name it all sectors. Selling is a life skill that we all need selling. Even the examples I like using in class with my students is I like to look at the element of boy and girl. If you're trying to reach out to a lady, I'm sure if you're not a good salesman, you may not succeed. So selling to me is a life skill. You need it every day. Even with kids, if you're trying to convince your kid to do something, you're still trying to sell to them. Why should you do this? Why should you do that? You have to apply some selling. So yes, it's a life skill, but going into the definition of selling, from a theoretical point of view, one can take note of the definitions in terms of what does the book say. But I tend to like to use understanding of the concept, how well you understand it, and then becomes easier for you to interpret. If you're asked what is a sale, what is selling, it's easier for you to know what are the critical elements you need to look out for. So the most important really is that in a sale, a transaction has to happen. A transaction has two parties, it does not have one party. There's always a buyer, a willing buyer, and a willing seller. That is very important. And exchanging one item for another. So these items is someone has a product, whether goods or service, another has the money that they will pay for the exchange. So whenever you think about selling, just know there's a transaction happening. And in this transaction, there's an exchange that is going on. And the exchange is not for free. It's I give you something as you also give me something in exchange for the item I've given you. So in this case, the context of our discussion is that someone is selling a service or a good and another person is paying for it. The medium of payment is money. So that just gives you a better understanding of what a sale is. And then when we talk about selling being an art of persuading the consumer that buying the product or service will benefit him or her. You have to convince. I mean, it does not, how do you get me to go into my pocket or swipe my card and pay for your service? You have to go through a lot of understanding of the consumer, know what you're selling very well, and then how do you sell that to the person and get them to actually pay? So that is very key. Now, if you go broad into people mixing up the two, we usually have this element. Some people think marketers are salespeople. Someone says he's a marketer. Some are implying sales. Those two might be similar, but there's a thin line between the two. One is part of the other. So as we go on, I'll just try to explain to you where the difference is between selling and marketing. If you look at the slide, we have some characteristics of selling and marketing. So you look at the selling side to the left, we have emphasis on the product. In selling, it's about the commodity that is on the table that needs to be sold. And then if you look at marketing goes a bit into the customer needs, understanding the customer, all those other dynamics that sit around the customer, how they're feeling, what they like, what they don't like. Will they consume this? What's the history? Where do they live? What are they? So the focus is more on the customer's need, whereas in selling, we're talking about the product. There's more concern about profit made. More concern is about customer satisfaction. Will the customer like this car? Does this car fit a person who lives in a mountainous area? Is it the ideal car for the job? Those questions are coming in. Satisfaction is very important. While selling, we are at the point where we're thinking about, will the money come in? What's the margin on that sale? Then the third one is selling stresses on the needs of the seller. And then marketing stresses the needs of the customer. So you'll find that, just like we mentioned, when I'm selling, I want to make a back off the sale in form of commission, an income, an earning, whatever comes from the sale. In this case, marketing is looking at broadly the customer. So I won't go through all of them, but that just gives you the difference to understand best, because out of marketing, you're planning the broad picture around the customer, the sentiments, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what he consumes. Selling is now the point where you come to, will he buy? At how much will he buy? So the bit of the right price comes in, and the right product. If all those are matched, someone is able to buy what they're looking for. Now, since we're in insurance, we would like to touch on services. Yes, a product like a phone is sold by its features, its functionalities. I mean, all this, there are so many, if you look at the phones we use, there are so many things that they push when they are selling the phone. When they launch a new phone, Samsung introduces a new phone, iPhone introduces a new phone, and Apple. You'll find that there are so many things they'll talk about. The question is, what do this mean to the customer? When you come to services, there's a difference. While you can touch a product, it's tangible, you can take it away. With services, there's a difference. Services include all economic activities whose output is not, sorry, I'm having a bit of a glitch. Sorry, I think my screen is having a freeze. Whose output is not a physical product. So you find that it is very critical for you to understand the difference between a product and a service. You cannot say I'm selling a insurance and you can't tell the difference. A person selling a fast consumer moving good, similar to, say, let's talk about Colgate toothpaste. Toothpaste, I'll tell you, it brightens your teeth. Yeah, it is right here. You can see it. I can give you a trial. If it's a drink, a new soda on the market, I'll give you a try. You can test it. Yeah, testing is very important. You acquire the test as you go on. You know, you get to know this how it tests. With a service, how do you test my service without actually buying it? So there are a number of other elements you need to look into on getting a service actually bought. So as we go on, we'll try to touch some of these areas. So you find that most people, if you don't take time to understand the difference between the service and the product, it becomes difficult for you to actually embrace selling insurance services. So services, we'll just go further into the characteristics. We have services are intangible, inseparable from its producer. One, I cannot give you a service, yeah, absence. I cannot give it to you while I'm absent. I have to be there. So the bit of a product, I can send you a product, someone delivers it, you consume it wherever you are. But in this case, I have to be there. The two, you experience the service as I deliver it. It's variable in its characteristics, yes, to keep changing because it's subjective to the person who's delivering the service. How I deliver on this session is not the same as Ronnie or Jonan will deliver it. There's always a difference. We may have the same content, but how we deliver it differs. Then perishable, in this case, it's about the time factor of the service. It's consumed as it's delivered. You cannot take my service and say I'm keeping it. This service, I'm going to take it and keep it at home. I'll consume it later. Technology, yes, as you go on, you realize technology has made this different. As you tangibilize services, we shall look at that. So you're able to take a service delivered like this, it's recorded, and you watch it later. That is another stage. But in the first essence, the basics is very clear. You cannot, you consume the service as it's delivered. It's dependent on the involvement of the customer. So that becomes a very critical element. As it's being delivered, the customer is there to interact, to ask questions, they will touch this, touch that, press that button, and is able to experience the service. So these are the key characteristics of the service. And how you intangibilize them, it's very important. When we look at the marketing piece, we'll see the bit of physical evidence. How do we get a service become tangible? That area we shall discuss it in detail. I don't want to take much time on it on this slide. So the sales process. It's a sequence of phases that a typical salesperson goes through to make a sale. So it's very important to have a clear process of selling. You cannot have a sales function that doesn't have a blueprint of how they get the sales in. You need to have an understanding of at what point do we move from stage one to the next stage. First stage, say we're bringing in a prospect. How do you treat the prospect? How do we know the prospect is ready to go to the next stage? Do we get to the point of preparing a proposal? Is it a sales pitch? You need to understand the process from A to Z. The detail is very important. So processes in sales, as good as, if you don't have clear processes, you may have good salespeople, you may have a very good product, but with the wrong sales processes in place, you can actually fail. There's no good having very good salespeople, very good products without a clear sales process. You'll have clashes, you'll have mis-selling, and people will be fighting in the process. And before you know, it is the business that is losing. So it's important to have the sales process clearly defined. And you've heard of things like what people refer to in ISO, quality management systems. ISO, yes, they also do streamlining of processes in service sector. I happen to take part in one, and I really appreciated it to understand what it takes to have a clear processes in a business. And it goes a long way in defining what everybody does in this process. So it's very important, especially for insurance, that you have clear processes. Insurance in itself are contracts. So you cannot afford to have certain things missing from one contract for another customer. You must follow the process to make sure everything has been done to close this sale in a very professional way. So the process, just breaking down, this is generic. It will vary depending on the sector. So this is just a generic example. Starting from we shall look at it in more detail ahead. So starting from the prospecting stage, where is the customer? What does it look like? Usually, most people will say potential customer. A prospect is not yet really a customer, but is a potential customer. So the initial contact, how was it a call? How do you make the initial contact? Was it a meeting? What did you have to do during this stage? So it's important to have all these stages identified. The sales presentation, handling objections. It's important to also understand what does the customer mean when they say B, when they say, okay, fine, I'm not sure, I don't think I want it right now. Can we talk in 3 months? I'm not sure, I need to talk to my boss, my supervisor. All those elements come in. How do you handle the objections that come in? A good sales team knows, I've understood the process over time, and they know how it works. They will know how to get out of any situation that comes up. Closing the sale, you can talk all the nice things you have to say, you can dress so nice, you can talk about the product. Basically, you can sell the company, talk about the brand, share all the best things you've done. But closing the sale is one thing where many people fail. A number of people will end up failing to close the sale. You must know at what point you're able to actually get the customer to make that purchase. Then follow up. As we go now, share examples of where some salespeople stop at the point of closing. When they close, they move on to the next. But follow-up is very important. It can guarantee you your next sale. Now, as a business, you must have a system that actually nurtures these clients. So you've heard of customer relationship management. It comes up at this stage. When you have a clear CRM tool or system in place, follow-up is not a challenge. It becomes easy for you. Hand over to a different team that actually starts to look after the customer. Getting another sale is very easy. Your repeat purchase will happen. Referrals will come from follow-ups. If you don't, it actually becomes a problem. You'll be bleeding so hard, at the same time sweating so hard to bring in the business, while it also leaves you. I'm with you for 1 year, the insurance contract expires, and the customer is off to the next insurer because you did not handle point 6 or level 6 very well. So follow-up is very key. These are generic stages of the process. It's very simple. There's nothing very complicated. You will do this every day, but the idea with the processes is document the process, study each stage carefully, agree on the actions under each stage, agree on the measurement under each stage, and then have this as a standard procedure document in the organization. Then review it regularly and see what is working, what is not working. When you have this and you run it for about a year, you'll find it very easy. I like to simplify things. There are so many tools out there that can be used, but basic terms, this is it. You do it every day, but you need to now take time, sit down, and see how you can structure your sales process, and then follow it. What is not measured does not get done. So the idea is when you document, you know what happens under each stage. You must have proper measurement tools for each stage for you to actually benefit from it. So principles of marketing. Like I mentioned, you can't talk about sales without talking about marketing. We'll try to understand what marketing is. So some classical definitions on marketing. It's a management process responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customer requirements profitably. Yes, it's responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customer requirements profitably. So the broad picture comes back. It's around the customer. Yes, and it's all about getting the right product or service to the customer at the right price at the right time. So this all element, if you notice, while in the selling stage you're talking about the exchange, it must happen. This is a product. I convince you this is a product you need. You go to pay for it. When you come to marketing, the element you see, and this is the second definition by Philip Kotler, talks about right product or service to the customer at the right price at the right time. The focus is on getting the customer right. All the touch points around the customer are fixed as you go through this. So those two, you can read the next one, but those two, for me, the first two are the most important definitions of marketing. Moving on to the next. So the importance of marketing, it enables the organization to understand its customers and stakeholders better, address computer activities and market developments, and effectively harness its capabilities. So yes, you in marketing, because the focus is around understanding the customer, and you understand the customer in light of your abilities as a business. So if you look at the third bullet, talks about capabilities. If you do understand your capabilities very well, how do you get your capabilities to work for you in line with the customer, so that the customer is able actually to appreciate your business, what you're offering, what you're doing for them, and then they're able to actually buy from you. So you can have a very good sales team, you can have very good products, you have very good systems, you can have the best manuals in operating procedures in your organization, but they are nothing if the customer cannot see them, if the customer cannot feel them, if your capabilities cannot be aligned to the customer needs. There's nothing you write home about in terms of money in the bank. So marketing helps you work on that bit of the customer and align it to your capabilities. The marketing mix, we keep hearing about this term. There's nothing difficult, I should say. These are just terms people throw around. Marketing mix, promotional mix, communication mix. So marketing mix refers to the set of actions or tactics that a company uses to promote its brand or product in the market. It refers to the tactical elements of the marketing strategy, basically blending the 7 P's of marketing. We shall understand what the 7 P's are. Previously, there used to be 4 P's. When I was studying earlier on in time, we used to learn about the 4 P's. 4 P's, and then they evolved some years back, I think it's quite some time now, to the 7 P's. They highlighted in red, a brighter color. You will see at the bottom 5 to 7. I've separated them and I'll tell you why. So how do you understand the marketing mix elements, or what some people call principles of marketing? or the pillars of marketing. The pillars used to be 4, now they are 7. In this case, product, how do you produce your product? What type of product is it? Who's your target audience? And how do they consume the product? You look at all these elements, the packaging of the product. How is it packaged? Is it in a glass bottle? Is it in a plastic bottle? Is it what kind of packaging are you considering for your target audience? So the product is what you offer, the core. This is what I offer the market in exchange for their money. This is the product I offer the market to actually get them to pay, and I get that money I'm looking for, the income for my business, the revenue. That is what you exchange. In services, that is the service we give to be paid. Says insurance. I mean, without that guarantee we give the customer that should this happen, should your car be stolen, should your house go down in a fire, I'll replace your house. That promise we give, the customer pays for it. So at the point of the product, we are discussing about the offering, your core offering that you actually offer the market. That is what we're talking about. Now, the exchange of what we have to offer is discussed under price. The P on price. We talk about the money someone pays, price. The price must be right. It must be the right price. You do understand different pricing strategies that companies use. I mean, are you at entry stage? Are you going to price skimming? You're thinking about it and saying, are we going to play in the lower margin on pricing? Do you want to be competitive in the market? So there are a number of different forms of pricing that a business will use to actually come up with a pricing strategy. You must understand your market, understand the product you're offering. What is your competition offering the market in terms of this product at what price? So you need to understand all those dynamics. In our market in Uganda, our pricing is regulated by the Insurance Regulatory Authority. So we cannot do much on pricing because we work with minimum rates. These minimum rates guide all of us in terms of pricing. But in markets where there are more free markets and demand and the supply determine, competition determine pricing, I mean, there the ball game is different. You sit and you really want to work hard. How do I price and still have a margin for my business? So broadly, what I can share with experience, it does not help to make so many sales. And the sales you're making, there's no margin for the business. I want to say that again. It doesn't help for you to make so many sales. When the sales you're making, there's no margin for the business. So it's critical to actually have a profit of a sale. And under pricing is where you get it right. In big corporations, a small margin as 1% can make a huge difference on the company. So pricing is very, very sensitive. You should not give away too much. You should not, again, take too much from the customer. You must feed. The metaphor used for this is about a very interesting tribe. I'm kind of related to them in a way, the Karamajongs. The Karamajongs have a cow, just like the Maasai. A cow is everything to Karamajong. And this cow, when he moves with it, is able to tap blood from the cow, but does not kill the cow. Whereas here, we slaughter and say, let's take the cow to the abattoir, slaughter it, take it to the butcher. The cow is gone. The Karamajong will take blood from the cow slowly as he lives on with the cow, looks after it, uses the milk, uses the dung, uses the urine for different things. That kind of lifestyle, that kind of lifestyle is actually allowing that actually keeps you living, is able to continue with you. It's the same thing here. You can't have a business and you're giving away all your concessions. You're just giving away the product without actually making a margin. So pricing and offering are very critical in the marketing mix. The other bit is place. I'll try to be a bit more faster on the next. Place is basically, you're talking about where you actually deliver this product or service. You're talking about physical locations. You're talking about You're talking about where the customer will actually come and buy, your distribution plan. Will they come to your head office? Do you have a distribution network? Do you have agents? Do you have third parties who are delivering for you this product? All those are discussed at a place. You must understand, and they are also factored in the price. The cost of distribution comes back to the pricing as well. So place, you're looking at all those facets. This product I have. So the next is promotion. Promotion, we shall look at the promotion mix, the number of elements. How do you get them to know about this product? So what I usually share that I enjoy so much is when you say, I have this product, I'm selling a phone. This is a phone X model. It's the best in the market. Yes. It does this camera, this quality, this speed. It's at so much. Where can you find it? My shop is on Kampala Road. Shop the number this, right opposite the Shell. You're doing that element 4, which is the promotion. You take care of what you're selling, at how much, and where you can find it. That is what the promotion mix delivers to you. So I would like you not to forget that. In most cases, you have different contexts. Yes, broadly, we shall look at the promotion mix, but what delivers for you is the fact that, I hope everybody's hearing. What you need to take note of is that under the promotion, you're taking care of the first 3: what I'm selling, at how much, and where I can get it. That is what the promotion mix is supposed to do. You must amplify that information to the customer in the right context where they need to find it. When you look at the communication mix, we shall discuss some of those elements as we go on, what a communication should have. Then in terms of processes, you're talking about how this product or service is actually produced and put on shelf. What processes do you have in place to get your core product from point A of development to point B ready for consumption? That is what processes looks at. If it's a service, how you actually deliver this service to the customer. The other bit is people. When you look at people, you cannot, in the past when we were looking at the 4 Ps, it was really about machines, technology, manufacturing. It's just happening. There we go. Product in, we move. The influence of people and the impact of people on the experience of this whole process was not catered for. That's why the people element comes in now here, and you find that people, if you look at all these people are involved. If the people are not aligned to what you have on paper, what you want to achieve, then chances that you make it are very slim. They are very, very slim. So the people element must be part of this. That's one common marketing mix element that cuts across. In product, people are involved. In pricing, people are doing the pricing. Which kind of sets of people do you have? What skills do they have? Do you have people who understand the product development? Do you have people who understand pricing? Do you have the right people who understand distribution? Do you have the right people who can deliver on promotions? Do you have people who can actually oversee the processes? People cut across. So the people element, you need to discuss it. In this point, you're trying to bring out the element of what kind of skills do you have? How are you positioning your people? What kind of remuneration do you have for the people at different stages? Then the last one is physical evidence. Tangibilizing of services, physical evidence comes in, because whereas in manufacturing where you have physical goods, it's easy to, physical evidence is the product itself. In service, you don't have that. So physical evidence becomes very important. We'll look at examples of what physical evidence is. So the promotion mix consists of the following elements: advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, public relations. So advertising, we talk about above the line, below the line. Advertising, whichever way you look at it, most people, I don't want to go into deep marketing, but if you look at advertising, you're saying, I have this product, This product I have is for this kind of people. It is at so much a price, and you can get it here, or call this number. Or you have it either that could be on a billboard, a newspaper ad. So advertising has different forms that are used in advertising. So you'll find that a number of people will talk about traditional advertising channels. Then we'll have digital advertising. So these days you have things happening online, on mobile, which is not the usual from the past, where we used billboards and newspapers, and that's all we could do best. So the bit you need to get out of this is amplifying of that communication you have can be done through advertising about your product to the right target audience. So you must understand who the target audience is, and then how do you take the message to them? What channels do they consume? Do they watch? Do they listen to radio, which is actually one of the traditional? Do they listen to radio? Do they read magazines? Is it that travel magazine that they use? So depending on the product you have, you must know the channel you're going to use for advertising. It comes out very strong. Personal selling is very important, especially in insurance. It becomes critical because the salesperson himself is like a mouthpiece. It's like a radio, it's like a billboard out there, the salesperson. A number of companies make mistakes. You have salespeople going out to do the personal selling, and they're not branded very well. They're not smart. Packaging. They're already affecting your communication. I'm telling you, I've come to sell to you a lifesavers product. You know, this is the best you need to save for life. Or you're selling an investment product. Someone is saying you need to invest in this. This is very good, but the person who's selling to you does not look like what is selling. Personal selling it's very critical, especially in insurance. I remember a research I carried out 8 years ago, and I don't think it has changed so far. It showed that insurance, out of the items, advertising, which is really taking a message either in one of the channels, a salesperson, or referral. People who bought insurance made the call after a salesperson talked to them. What I'm trying to say, the highest number of people who bought insurance made the call to buy after a salesperson talked to them. So insurance, with all the advertising they've been exposed to, with all the referrals they got, that sale was eventually closed by a salesperson. So you can have all the nice adverts out there. You can have the best billboards, the best TV commercials, radio ads. But if you don't have the salespeople to go in and close the sale, you will not actually sell. That's the truth. It's a fact. So even with the bank, you can have a good advert, open the account. You get this when you open the account. If you don't have salespeople going out to close, you will not close the sales. In services, it becomes very difficult. Whereas in commodities, actual products, physical products, the customer will just go and pick it and take it, depending, especially fast consumer moving goods. Sales promotions, buy one, get one free. How do you drive demand in the short term? Sales promotion. You're trying to get a certain sales target in the shortest time possible, maybe 3 months, 2 months. What are you offering the customer to entice them to come and buy immediately? Buy one, get one free. You've heard of those. If you take it now, you get an extra. Those are the kind of sales promotion. Public relations, trying to engage with the public in a way that actually convinces them. This is more of an emotional way of communicating to the market and engaging. You find that in public relations, you're trying to be as responsible as possible in the eyes of the customers, of the market, the public. You have different stakeholders. People go through CSR. CSR, yes, people say it's charity, you're helping. But through CSR, you create public relation opportunities. That is very common. To the government, how does the government see you? Are you giving back to the community? How do those stakeholders that care about community see you? What are you doing? Are you getting those opportunities in the newspapers to talk about what you're doing without actually paying for them? Because some people think, when I've done this, I've gotten some PR out of it. I've advertised, I've gotten some PR out of it. No, I don't think that is it. It's not. You can't say I've advertised and I've gotten PR out of it. You must, the element here is really that with PR is supposed to be free. Out of what you're doing, are you able to trigger positive public relations. And these are seen in the engagements, in the stories, people following what you're doing. So all those. And then people talk about publicity, brand visibility. Those two are not any of the marketing mix elements. These are basically outcomes of what you do with the above. Brand visibility, how you're doing your advertising, what you're doing to get your PR strategy, that gives you brand visibility. Where are you seeing, what experientials are you doing, what, all those activities you're doing will give you that. Publicity, activity, these are all outcomes. So do not mix them as marketing strategies. I've seen people say, that is one of the, some think it's one of the promotion mix. It's not. These are not publicity, those are outcomes, and brand visibility outcomes that you want to achieve out of what you do with the above. So physical evidence examples, packaging, things like in services, paperwork, letterheads, those are things we use to tangibilize services. Business cards to show I come from this company. A building itself, if you're in office in town and say we're an insurance company and don't have a location, that you already failed on the first step of physical evidence. You must have a location. And then what does the location look like when someone comes in? Does it look appealing? Does it attract the customer? Does it look like you're a solid company? Things like website, those all tangibilize services. Signage, uniforms, business cards, I mentioned that. So all those elements come in, they're very important. You'll find that things like stickers, if you have a motor insurance sticker on your vehicle, it shows very well that I'm insured by company X. I'm insured by company B because of the sticker. Without the sticker, it is just a service. You say, who is insuring you? You can say anyone insures you, but what helps us differentiate which service from the other are some of these elements, which are discussed under physical evidence. So it's the whole range of items that assets that can be used to make a service actually visible or recognizable or differentiated from the other the competitor. It's very important to take note of that. Policy documents are very important also, especially in insurance. Without the document, how do you know? Has it been sent on mail? So that it shows that your name on here, my company logo is on there, I'm insured by so and so. So physical evidence, do not mix it. I've gotten people getting confused by it, but it's a very simple thing. What bits of your business have you used to tangibilize your service? They are very simple. Brochures, signage, do not forget those. Selling techniques. Looking at selling techniques, there are quite a number. Attitude. People talk about attitude. It's how you think and feel, how you approach yourself, your company, your product, your customer. So maintaining a positive attitude is a must for a salesperson. The right attitude, do not feel like you can't do it. Do not feel like you failed. You must feel the fire. Some people, I hear people come up with names, I'm a sales warrior, I'm this. All those things are used to give you psych. You need the psych. You need to shape that attitude. Your mindset helps you actually make it. You cannot walk out and sell when you have a poor attitude. You must have that positive attitude right from day one, and it becomes easy for you to sell. Everything becomes clear because customers sense your attitude just from your first greeting, whether you're confident or you're down. So when you're feeling low, it's not a good day to go out and sell. Always work on your attitude. The other one is product knowledge. Now, many cases in services, if you don't have knowledge on your product, you're not going to sell it. You must be able to understand the product from A to Z. What are the benefits of this product? The name of the product. What does this product actually satisfy to the customer? How will this product be used? You must have knowledge on all those facets of the product for you to be able to sell it. You can't sell what you don't know. I mean, a customer will ask you questions. Sometimes customers know more than you about the products. The next one is communication. When you look at communication, yeah, it's not much what you say, but how you say it. It's about the tone of voice, the choice of words, facial expressions, and attitude comes back. So communication is actually delivery of that promise you're saying. You know, this is what we can do. This is what we can deliver. We can help you this way. Should this happen, we'll come to your aid, to your assistance. You cannot say all that poorly. You must really understand how to communicate. Reading body language, all those elements come in. And the good thing under personal selling, there's two-way communication between you and the target audience, the person you're trying to sell to. So communication plays a very big part, and it's also another broad topic on its own. Listening skills are becoming a good. I mean, basically, if you're going to do listening, you must really demonstrate that you listen to the customer. Most people say, I'm a good listener, but if you really understand what listening is, many of us struggle with listening. It's a challenge. So a good communicator actually listens. You listen to what the customer is saying. You take note. Allow them to speak. Stop. Don't interrupt. Yeah. Active listening is a must for any salesperson. If you don't succeed in getting to understand the customer's needs, it will be very difficult for you to sell to the person if you do not do that. So active listening is good. So you must allow the customer to speak. Can they express themselves fully? Say a few things. Listen as much as you can to the customer, what the customer is saying. Do not interrupt. And then provide solutions. People like to be listened to. When they feel you listen, they will like you for that because you give them time to express themselves and speak, and then you respond. Building rapport. Developing a connection is still important in today's sales environment. How do you develop a connection? And people, yes, people still buy from people. You'll find that in most cases, you pick up the phone. I mean, I've seen sales guys come into my office and you look at I like to keep these toys of motorcycles and cars in my office. The guy walks in and he sees the type of car and talks about the car or the motorcycle. Suddenly, my conversation has been turned to, it starts a conversation about me. Or he sees a certificate in my office and he takes it from there. He's talking about, oh, you are part of this. This is very good. So already I'm disarmed. I relax. This guy is talking about something to do with me. I start telling him about what I like. I'm telling him about my bikes. I'm excited about bikes. I'm telling him about that course I attended. It was very exciting. I met so and so. I like the principal in that school. I mean, the whole thing, discussion, the rapport is being built from something that is connected to me that I like. Then we go to the business. Trust me, it is very hard to lose attention from such a person. If you do that, that customer will automatically want to hear more. I've seen people pick up calls. Do research. Do research about the person I'm calling. Am I calling Ronnie? What does Ronnie like? I said Ronnie likes IT. So when you call Ronnie, you start talking about technology. Talking about technology, there's this. Have you heard about that? Before you know, Ronnie, man, it feels like you're relating with him. You know him very well. Then you say, so how can I help you? Because your conversation started with Ronnie around something that he understood. Do your research. Get to know what this person knows. Talk to the person and, tell them you like to talk to this person. So when you meet them, say, I was referred to you by so and so. Already you've warmed up this person. You've got into a certain part of them that you would not have gotten. Telling good stories, conversations. Are you able to tell some very interesting stories? Do you have your facts about the area the person deals in? Building rapport is very important. And great salespeople do this very well. And those people do it very well, never go wrong with closing sales. Building relationships is very important. You cannot live on an island and think everything will work because your product is good, you have the best grades in school, you got the qualifications, you work for the best brand in the market. No, that's not enough. People buy from people. Most cases, people are more comfortable dealing with people they know. So if you don't build your network, your relationships, it becomes difficult for you to actually sell. You need to build relationships in the market and then as well, build relationships with your customers. Then you find that they will refer people to you because they know you. The other selling skills are so many. Just to give you a highlight, focus, self-motivation. You can always read about the rest. There are so many. I just picked up what I thought was critical. On the slide, you can see I've listed quite a number, but those you can read about them on your own, and they're also some they're catered for in our course books. Managing the sales process and systems. It's a very critical part of the process. Most cases, you can have people doing their job. They know what to do. You have the product, all that done, but you must manage that process. So under this section, we're going to just discuss some of the key things you need to take care of as you manage the process. You find that a number of people have not been able to crack this. So I'll dive right in. Are we all seeing this slide? Ronnie, give me a nod if you're seeing the slide.
Yes.
Oh, okay, very visible. Good. So I'm running behind on time. So in terms of effective management of selling process, we'll talk about initial contact. There are 11 that I've listed that will help you effectively manage the selling process. You must have a clear strategy around initial contact. How do we treat our initial contacts? You must have a process, a platform on which they are sieved and they are analyzed. How do you approach them? What do you take note of? Where are they found? Who does what during the process? Example, you have brokers in distribution, you have agents, you have direct, you have digital channels online that you use for selling, and all those are opportunities for initial contacts. You have customers in the market that you approach. How are they processed inwards? How do you go out to the market and actually talk to them? The other bit is establishing rapport. We talked about that. I will not go back into that in detail. Agree an agenda when you're doing that initial contact. So for one customer, you're going to make the contact. Say, let's use one. Customer B is in manufacturing. I want to sell to him insurance. You call him up. So perhaps it was a referral. You get into the discussion. Uganda manufacturers have been talking about challenges they are facing. You've read about it in the news. You've done research about the issue. When you meet him, when you make that call, is already seeming like this whole thing is going on. That's the atmosphere. You refer to the atmosphere and talk about it. He says, no, we're very busy right now. We're having challenges. There's this. You talk about, have a discussion. You'll be interested in knowing what you have to say about the challenge they're facing because you've done your research. Then before the meeting, agree on an agenda. As agenda being agreed on, when you agree on an agenda, you don't waste time. Most people lose it there. You go to a meeting and you're not agreed on what you're going to discuss. The agenda is very important in this discussion. Then getting an upfront agreement to your terms is very critical. You must agree on how this is going to go forward. Most cases when I'm doing the selling, when I reach this stage, it happens. Sometimes the order doesn't matter really sometimes, because sometimes some people start with a close. They set the sale with a close. You've heard of that. It's possible. But for me, I set the terms early enough. And I want the customer to agree on the terms before we engage further. So this is what you're interested in. I'm going to get you 3 options for this for your risk cover. These are options I'm giving you. And I think out of these options, you're going to pick one of those. And the payment terms, we can look at them this way. These are the options on payment terms. I've already gone to payment. Right from the start, I'm giving you the options. I'm talking about the payments, and I'm talking about the benefits altogether. So the customer, when I meet the customer, I've already shaped the discussion, how it's going to be. So we don't waste time on a story being told and they're going nowhere. Some people don't like to disappoint. So they can't tell you no. Not everybody can say no, a straight no. So they will take you in circles. How do you save your time? Put some terms clearly from the start. There's a way you can do it. Be very tactical. Study the tone of voice, or if you've met the customer, study the body language. And when you get out of that, you know exactly where they're going, and you come and focus on that. It helps you be more clear. Establish who has authority. Don't waste time with gatekeepers. That's the term I'm using, but I mean, the person you're talking to, do they have the authority to make the decision? We spend a lot of time following people. I have someone there I know. I have someone I know in that company. I know someone in that company. The person you know in that company, do they have the authority to make the decision you need them to make? They can give you steps to the next person, but let that be the objective. But don't waste time with a person, yet you know he has to refer to another boss, then to another boss. Use them to get you that contact to the person who makes a decision. And then you must understand the process. If it's a procurement process, don't waste time if it's a procurement process talking to someone when they must advertise and you actually submit. You must understand that. Ask fact questions. Ask questions like, how many employees do you have? How many fleets do you have? Vehicle fleets. How many stores do you have? Yeah? How long have you been in business? Information that will help you build on a proposal. Don't waste time asking questions about things that don't add to the objective of why you're there. Focus on questions on what are going to help you actually get to the sale. Questions on number of employees, you want to do GPA insurance, you want to do motor comprehensive fleets, stores the customer has. You're asking questions that are giving you answers to the questions you'll have to come up with a proposal without the customer realizing that actually you're done with your proposal. You ask fact questions, that's what it's about. And then ask issue questions. Issue questions in this case, how many fires have you had in the past 3 years? How many employees have left, have been injured due to this? If it's a customer in this kind of sector, or quarry or something, or engineering or mining, I mean, you're asking questions that relate to the kind of problems your policy actually covers. Ask issue questions. That's what it talks about. You're building on this proposal during this discussion with this customer. Then present your features and benefits. Now, because you've understood the facts, you've understood the issues, you start talking about the features and benefits better. You align them to those specific issues that you've identified. The customer will find you relevant. It's very important to look at. Negotiate terms, win-win negotiations. Always look for a win-win situation and never give away too much. For me, in negotiations, I always use an element is that if someone tells me I want this is 100,000, I tell him I have 50% of the price. And I know I'll end up between 50% and 100%. But in our case where the pricing is already determined by a regulation, we cannot do much. You have to now talk about the benefits. Payment terms have also been clearly stated. There's a window in which you can work with. What can you do for the customer that will actually make them buy? We should not be selling things which are not part of the product benefits. Focus on the solution and be professional on what you actually deliver. Then close the sale and then follow up. Closing the sale, get that payment through. And closing is very difficult for some people. But if you start with a close from the start, you start closing the sale from the start, you follow these cases, you get to a point where your terms have been clearly stated. By the time you get to the negotiation, the customer knows what they're negotiating for. The sale becomes easy. Then they follow up. If these stages are followed critically well, it is very easy for you to effectively manage the sales process. So modern selling, the concept of modern selling, broadly in today's world, things have changed. The customer has evolved. And so as a sales function, it has these 6 elements that we need to really look into. Problem solving and system selling has become very critical for a salesperson. Adding value, satisfying needs, customer retention and deletion, customer relationship management, database and knowledge management, marketing the product. These are skills, technical skills that a salesperson today must know something about. They are more exposed because the customer has evolved. The salesperson also today has gone to another level. with technology, with change in consumer demand, all the things are shaping the salesperson. The salesperson has become, has become an expert. They expect you to know because the customer knows much more. They research before they actually come and buy from you. Then we have sales management. And how do we understand it? Managing the sales force, setting sales objectives, recruitment and selection, training, motivation and compensation, evaluation of the sales team. This is basically what actually happens under sales managing. Under sales management, it is looking at each of these elements. You must consider the sales force. What kind of sales force do you have? What's the size? What's the composition of your sales force in terms of experience? Setting the objectives for the sales force, recruitment and selection, training, motivation, compensation, evaluation of the sales team. This is what sales management is about. And then sales management, if you look at the key steps, what falls under sales management? Adopting a marketing strategy which basically looks into the sales direction. The marketing strategy will guide the sales direction. You must have one clearly stated, get it right. Then setting the personal selling objectives and actions. This comes down to the level of the sales personnel and the function, the team. How are they going to do it? Who's doing what? Who's bringing in what revenue? Who's focusing on which channel? You must have that very clear. Then designing the sales force. Determine size and structure. You know clearly. You know the objectives, so you bring them down to the sales force. You know how many people are under what section. All this must be clearly stated. And then manage the sales force, the objectives, recruitment. All this will fall under sales management approach. This approach will allow you to actually deliver on this function much better. This role, of sales management. It becomes very critical that you must take time to understand how your process works, what facets are in your process, and then how the business can interact with these different facets to deliver. There are a number of tools under planning, under monitoring, and evaluation. The number of tools that can be used as we go on, we shall look into them. We have common sales management challenges, geographical separation between sales managers and their teams in the field. Yeah, it's very important. Sometimes sales can get lonely. You spend most of your time on the road. Someone wonders how that is possible. It is true. You find that you're always in the field. By the time you come back to office, people have left, or you come when most people are out for meetings. You rarely get time to meet with people. Your people are far away. The manager is in head office. The sales people in the field. Sometimes you need quick solutions, and you can't get help. So things like technology come in to help make these things easier. But where you don't have them, it's a huge challenge. Sometimes you're far away from the head office. It's also a challenge. The facilities you access are not the same. Like someone selling in the city, it becomes very difficult if you're selling from a branch office. These are some of the challenges that actually we can't ignore. Repeated rejection. You must not get tired of being rejected. Rejection is part of selling. You'll be rejected every other time. You cannot avoid it. It will happen, and you must learn from it. You must accept it. I've had cases where people feel very, very sad that the customers refuse to buy. Thank the customer and tell them maybe next time, or ask them to refer you to someone they think will buy. Be positive about it. Keep your attitude right. Repeated rejection, you can fix it as you go on. But it's a common challenge. When you keep facing it and you don't get it right, it can break you. The salesperson's personality versus the realities of the job. Salespeople are known to be outward looking. They are known to be extroverts. And if you're in sales and you end up in sales and you're not an extrovert, some of these things become difficult for you. But with time, I've seen people transform, because you can be by your comfort zone in terms of personality as an introvert, but you learn to behave like an extrovert because of the job. It can happen, but in the beginning, it's a challenge. The personalities will vary and it will affect people. You expect someone to be really outgoing and everything, and yet the job they are in is one that locks them in. It will also be a challenge. The reverse is also true. Oversimplification of the task. The challenge you have with salespeople is forgetting the big picture. When you focus on get the selling, we are selling. But you never think about the sales are brought in, what's the quality of the sales I'm bringing in? Are they able to, can we make profit off these sales? Those become challenges if you don't really consider all those other areas of the business. So do not focus on just bringing in the sale. Think about the big picture, and that sales is actually broader than just closing the sale. There are many other things that happen around it. So under sales monitoring and management, we have the sales pipeline. It basically shows a sequence of actions that a sales rep needs to take to move a prospect from a new lead to a paying customer. The sales pipeline has been mentioned. What's your sales pipeline? You must know what falls under each stage. How many leads are at qualification? How many leads have made it to meeting? How many leads at proposal? And how many leads have reached closing? You realize the further you go to closing, the fewer the leads in the pipeline. So it's a very important tool that is used. You can read more about it. Here's in summary. The next is the sales funnel. It's a visual representation of the steps required to sell your product or service. So one looks at, one has a shape of a funnel. The other one has steps that are cut across on a bar graph. Just look at it. So I've found people asking, what's the difference? Most people say sales pipeline, they think a funnel and a sales pipeline are the same, but there are some differences, yet the similarities are so many. But the objective they both deliver is the same. So the sales funnel gives you a complete overview of where in the sales process your money is. You can tell you have a prospect, you have 100% good number. As you go down, they start reducing. The potential is, the idea is that from the top of the funnel, you have so many leads. And when you go down to the bottom, few come out. What it tells you basically, you must understand that if you're to get 5% successful leads turning into actual customers, you need so much in terms of prospects. Now, if you're going to get 5% as customers, at the bottom here, you're going to get 5% as customers. If you need to actually achieve 20%, you need to do the math. Let's just use even 10%. If you want 10%, then you need 200% prospects to get the 5%. If you need 200%, if you need 20%, then you need 400% prospects to achieve. That is what the funnel actually, this funnel interprets for you. So it's good to understand this process. It's very critical. And in terms of the difference, one, let's start with similarities. Both describe the flow of prospects through a sales process, clearly indicating the same stages. The sales pipeline focuses on tactics or strategic actions. The sales funnel visually represents the prospect's conversion rate, leads dropping percentage through similar stages. So you're able to see at what rate the leads are actually being converted and dropping off. That helps you understand your process much better. Looking at emerging trends in selling and marketing, I see Jonan is smiling at me. How am I doing on time?
I think we need to prepare closing.
Okay, so Jonan, you allow me to wrap up. So in terms of emerging trends.
Donato.
Yes.
I need to just request that in 3 minutes we go into the Q&A.
Okay.
Yeah, I've given you an extra 3 minutes. Thank you. I know it's very, very involving, but please try and use 3 minutes.
Okay. All right. So we'll look at this last 3 minutes. I'll cover the emerging trends today. We'll talk about marketing specialization and use of technologies. In sales, things have changed. You'll find that a number of sales functions have been made easy with technology. We have tools that will go with the field. A salesperson is able to deliver a quote right in the market. Is able to give you a quote there, and then he can access the system right in the field. All this technology has changed the selling process. Understanding of the customer, integration of data is actually made it very easy to specialize in the sales function. Customers wanting it all, it's important. Customers' demands have increased. What used to think a courtesy call in the past is no longer a courtesy call. It does not help in any way. I mean, you would think I'll call a customer and have a chat with them and they feel, oh, you're doing your best. That's not enough. The customer is looking for more. They're looking for the edge. If everybody's doing it, what more are you doing for me? We go as far as understanding the customer's movements, things like birthdays where you get messages. All those are sentimental. But in terms of expectations, the customer is beginning to demand much more from a bank, demand much more from an insurance company. We had the outbreak of the COVID coming in. Customers expecting us to cover it. Yet in the traditional products, you would know that some of these things are not covered, but they expect them. Customer relationship marketing has become very critical today. CRM is the discussion of selling. We sell through the relationships. It has become more focused on the customer and get them to sell. Then salespeople are very educated. They are really learning quite a lot on the products, becoming experts in what they are doing because of the involvement of the customer. The customer has evolved. The salesperson has also focused on the involvement in terms of their knowledge on what they are actually delivering in the market. Mass marketing to fragmentation. We've seen a bigger breakdown in customer markets today. Those days you would say, all these people in this area, yes, let's talk about, we used to say bottom of the pyramid, all people in areas like Kisenyi, or, these are all mass, we can just sell to them, but it has changed. You look at radio alone, years back we had few radio stations, now they are fragmented. Every little town has its radio station. Every vernacular language speaking fraternity has its own radio station. You have to now understand how all this would like their communication. This affects how selling is being done. Buyers are basically in the driver's seat. We are reacting to buyers. When buyers go into social media and riot over something, we all jump and want to respond. I saw a signage of someone who had labeled the street on social media, Katongole, Sing Katongole, and with some reactions on social media, I understand it was taken down. And they are saying KCC had not approved, so they took it down. That is an example of the buyer being in the driver's seat. The buyers are becoming more powerful through social media, and this is affecting what we deliver to the market. We are forced to sell some things that we not have sold just because of the buyer power. Automation is critical today. But however, some people argue that it's affecting jobs. There are tools I've seen and have been, someone has demonstrated to me that analyze claims. It's able to tell you how the claims experience in a very short time. You don't need someone to actually put in. Someone can lodge a claim and the system is able to calculate and give a customer an offer for their claims. So this automation is happening also in underwriting. Underwriting tools are there. The automation is helping to reduce the time our salespeople take. Then heightened competition is also is a fact. While you see all these changes in the sales field, in the markets, competition is also increasing. People are investing in technology at a very high level. If you sleep for a year, you wake up and you're finished. Globalization, we have seen things changing. Local players in the market are being bought out by bigger players. It's happening. It is here. The consumer is the same. American companies opening in different parts of the world. You have Asian businesses opening in Africa, and suddenly you're discussing insurance with an insurer in China because his client has come to your market and they want to discuss and see if you're able to cover them. Brokers, international brokers are here. This is globalization that is happening, and you cannot ignore it. In the process of selling, with globalization, we are getting exposed to technologies from advanced markets coming into our markets. And how are we positioning ourselves as local players in these markets to interface with globalization in insurance and basically selling in general? And then you realize that this whole thing of sales and marketing is becoming one. The bit of saying I'm a salesperson and marketing person is becoming one. The more we focus on the customer, the need to have sales and marketing look into the same direction has become more critical than ever. So Jonan, I will end here on emerging trends. I hope we can move, that could be